Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Unpacked. I'm Jack, and today we have a case made out of brushed aluminum. Just kidding, that's just obviously a typo. First off, I'd like to give a shout out to Rick from Corsair for sending us this unit. This is the Corsair Obsidian 450D. Now, Corsair says that they've designed this specifically for the mid-tower market with Obsidian class features and air cooling performance. So let's not delay any further and get to unpacking. Alright, so this is the 450D. It came packed in hard cell foam, something we don't like to see around the office, but clearly it made its way to us without any damage. So let's start off with the exterior. Oh, before that, let me show you this piece of paper here that Corsair kindly included. Inside the box it says, for a full user's manual, go to corsair.com/450D. So it's nice to see that Corsair is thinking about the environment and not wasting a ton of paper by printing off a manual. Anyways, onto the exterior. So the 450D has the classic Obsidian look. For the front panel, we have the brushed aluminum, obviously. Headphone port, microphone port, reset switch, power button, alright, with 2 activity LEDs on either side. And finally, 2 USB 3 ports. Just underneath the front panel audio inputs, we have 2 5¼ bays for those of us who want to add a fan controller or a card reader, or for those of us stuck in the 20th century still using discs with their optical drives. You can install up to 2 optical drives if you would like to. And just below the 5¼ bays, we have the front panel that pops off to reveal 2 AF140L fans that are included with the 450D. Now don't be fooled by the grille design on this panel here. There is a finer mesh behind it that acts as a dust filter, so you're not actually getting all the dust up all in your system. Okay, so moving on to the top of the case, we have a magnetic dust filter. These are just awesome. There's no other way to explain it. Just below the filter, we see mounting options for either 3 120mm fans or 2 140mm fans. And for cooling options, we can either install a 240 or a 280mm rad. On the left-hand side, we have a windowed side panel. To me, this is the perfect sized window. It lets you take a good look inside at the main attraction, but still gives you a bit of a small peek at what lies around the main attraction. On the right-hand side, we find a whole bunch of sexy nothingness. And on the back, we find another included AF series fan, this time an AF120L for exhaust. We have the usual motherboard cutout, 7 expansion slots, and finally the PSU mount on the bottom. Speaking of bottoms, we have another magnetic fan filter. This is for the power supply and the 2 optional fans you may or may not want to put down on the bottom. Really nice to see that Corsair is starting to include all these magnetic dust filters because, let's be honest, they're just the best. Alright, now let's mosey on to the interior. Alright, up first is the non-windowed side panel. First we see plenty of space for cable management. We have a few cable tie notches here, 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 and here. We have a very large backplate cutout for all the aftermarket heat sinks, and as well as 2 backplate mounted SSD drive trays. Now I do have a SSD here, so all you have to do is lift up on the lever right there and slide it right in. And you've mounted your SSD. Now let's take a look at the windowed side. So we find a pretty standard looking interior. One thing to note is the drive cage here on the bottom does house 3 drives. And in the middle drive here, we find a cardboard box. This cardboard box will have all the cable ties and necessary screws for you to get on with your build. We'll just pop that right back. Now this drive cage is removable, so you can actually either place it on the bottom here or hang it just below the 5¼ bays. Another thing that's really cool, you can actually order another one of these if 3 bays aren't actually enough for you. Say you want 6 hard drives for whatever reason. Or you can completely take it off and actually be able to install a 240mm rad on the bottom if you want to do some extra water cooling. Now, on to what we can actually fit inside here with all this space here. So for video card length, you actually have about 430mm to work with. I just so happen to have a 300mm 7990 hanging around, and if we were to mock that up right there, you can see that the 7990 does just stick out a wee bit. So just be wary, guys, when you are mounting your hard drive bays, that you're not hanging it from the bottom if you have an extra long video card. So what does this all mean? Well, personally, I have a 700D sitting at home with an 800D windowed side panel, And in hindsight, 4 years later, it's a bit overkill for actually what I have installed in terms of hardware. I mean, when I got it, don't get me wrong, it's super awesome with just all the clean lines and stuff. But if I were to do my build all over again now, with the 450D bringing the clean lines that we know are specific to the Obsidian line, at $120 MSRP, it's definitely in contention for my next case purchase, which is actually a lot less than what I paid for my 700D all those years ago. It was $280. And that about wraps it up for this video on the 450D, guys. Once again, huge thanks to Rick for sending us a unit to take a look at. And leave a comment down below if you guys were to rebuild the case that you have now, would you be willing to buy a different case to do it all over again? Thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you later.